Nick,
And I'm Erica.
and today we're going to talk about the importance of tough love. So the way we're going to set this up is Erica's going to ask me some questions. I'm going to talk about my experiences through certain scenarios and so forth, and then Erica's going to touch in and talk about it. We have a couple questions that we have thought out for the video. So basically, what is tough love from family members? So when you're going through OCD, one of the most important things, in my opinion, is having someone around who's going to help push you in the right direction in the beginning. Because, unless you're a sufferer or you're a family member, I don't know if people, and obviously they wouldn't know the in-depth of how debilitating the condition can be if you're not pushed in the right direction and you just let yourself get to the compulsions and self-pity and there's this realm of OCD suffering that just tends to just keep you locked in the anxiety and fear cycle. So tough love was used more so in the beginning of the journey, and we're going to talk about some questions and experiences and go from there and why it's important for family members or loved ones. So this is a video you'll definitely want to show them and so forth. So go ahead.
So just real quick before I get into the questions, tough love was the main way that I had to keep Nick accountable. He doesn't respond always the best to the it's okay and the gentle approach. He does need a little bit more tough love. So that's knowing him. That's what he needs. It might be different for the person that you love, but my guess is that at some point they're going to need at least some tough love. So question for you. Give examples of when I used tough love and how I used it.
So in the beginning of my suffering, let's go back to the very beginning, tinnitus, and then before, tinnitus turning into somatic OCD, I didn't do anything. So if any of you have watched my videos before, just to give people the insight, because I don't even think my best friends know about how bad it really was. And this is why this is, a disorder that people say they suffer alone with, because it really can feel isolating since it's all mainly in here. You don't have a missing arm or a missing leg, so it's hard for people to see the perspective, just how hard you could be suffering. So, in the beginning, playing video games 16 to 18 hours a day, up to 36 hours straight, chain smoking tobacco and the vape. Basically, everything I did was really bad for me. So Erica even just pushing me in the right direction a little bit was really huge, because I would probably still be playing video games 20 hours a day right now and not exercising and anything like that. So she really started pushing me, I think, what would you say, maybe 4 or 5 months into my suffering. That's when you were really adamant about the tough love.
I was really adamant about the tough love probably around the new year.
So 3 months to somatic OCD.
Yeah.
Because I got it mid-September-ish.
We were approaching Christmas. We were spending Christmas with my family. I was honestly kind of worried that he was just going to play video games the entire time that we were spending a couple of weeks with my family. So I was not going to have that. He actually didn't play video games at all while we were with my family, which I was very proud of him for doing. Yeah, definitely probably around then, and then definitely after we moved out to Colorado.
That's when I got bad.
That's when I started to really have to be tough with him about getting out of bed, not playing video games all the time.
Bed was huge. Bed was huge. Listen, before I started chronically suffering with OCD, she will tell you right now, I operated decently well on 4 hours of sleep. You never heard me say
he was never the type of person in general to sleep for longer than 8 hours.
Ever.
So.
Oh yeah, no.
So him to sleep in past 8:30 is weird, and he was sleeping until noon, sometimes later.
Remember sometimes where I would sleep till 3?
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to do it. Yeah. And then so it would be the cycle of I would get up, play video games. Sometimes I wouldn't sleep the night before, so I'd play for 30 hours. Then I would go to sleep at 8 in the morning and then sleep till 3. It was just a complete nightmare of just lifestyle habits. And that's when you really got tough on me about this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. So saying, Nick, you need to get out of bed. Sometimes after the kidney stone happened, And he had gone through that whole month of not really having a routine. Sometimes he didn't want to go to work in the morning, and I would literally have to say, you have no choice. You need to come to work or you're going to be fired. Like, you need to go. So I had to get him out of bed. Sometimes he was late to work, but at least he
And that was
there.
tough for me because she'll tell you,
Yeah.
she went to Cairo school with me. I was very, stay on top of my stuff, got my work done, first person to class every day.
Yeah.
Literally for 3.5 years in our doctoral program, I was the first one in our class, besides maybe Jenny, every single day, always. Always there having conversation with teachers, just like a ball of energy. So real quick, this has anything to do with the tough love, but to piggyback this off my Facebook post in the group, the importance of, because it's so easy to say, oh, I want the old me back.
Mm-hmm.
I said that so many times. So, but yeah, Erica really had to push me in the direction of giving up video games, stopping smoking, getting back to exercise. I've always been in good shape. I got up to like mid 20% body fat. Like I had a gut on me. It was bad. Like I really stopped doing things.
Sometimes the tough love did involve me raising my voice, and I don't like yelling. I don't like raising my voice. But sometimes it did have to come to that because it was just, he just wasn't listening. And,
No.
with his background, with his family, they are a little bit more vocal when it comes to just their dynamics.
The New
So
Jersey Italians.
And my family's not like that at all.
Not
so sometimes
at all.
I do have to go that route with him because it's, 30 years of him having that dynamic within his family. So it's what he has learned to respond
No
to.
communication. None. Zero.
Yeah.
Just, you're wrong, I'm right, scream at each other. 2 hours later, you want to go get food? Like the weirdest relationship with my family.
I didn't really have to go that deep into it, but I did have to raise my voice a few times and say, this is not okay, you need to do that. Sometimes the tough love was also keeping him accountable for talking to Rob, and making sure, sometimes he would bargain with me. He'd be like, it's not that bad. And I'm sitting there saying, yes, it is. And you need to talk to him. He's like, well, there are people that are worse off than me.
I said that a lot. I did say that a lot.
There were a lot of excuses sometimes. And being tough on that was really big.
So that was the main thing.
Yeah. So next question. How did you react to me with tough love?
I'm like, I could see my chest. Terrible. It was really, really, really bad. This goes back on the importance of being easy on family members. It's so vital for us to try and develop the perspective, and this is for all OCD. Again, people are more than likely not going to understand what it's like when we have OCD, and that's okay. It's a false illusion. It's the same exact thing where I talk about this example. You can imagine what it's like to not have legs, but unless you don't have legs, it's hard to fully understand. Now, that doesn't mean anyone needs to understand. So this is important when you try and educate them on how you're feeling, so they can see, wow, this person's really suffering consistently. And I reacted terribly in the beginning.
Terribly.
I was really angry.
He was not happy with tough love at all, especially because all of the tough love was pertaining to the opposite of what his OCD wanted him to do.
And to go back on, brought up family stuff where I had irrational beliefs, thinking that my family was the reason I was like this. It wasn't a very conscious one, but it was there because I'd bring it up, and then now I was saying to myself, that doesn't make any sense, It might have been a portraying factor, but my belief now is the reason why I'm the way I am now. So yeah, it really wasn't good. And it took, how many months would you say?
For you to stop taking tough love terribly?
6, maybe.
Probably until June of this year. And it's November now.
So
9. A long time.
Yeah, if we actually include tinnitus, a year.
Yeah.
A year. So a year. This is very important to highlight because this goes to show you the length of this journey. And
another thing with regards to the tough love that I would do with him is when he would say, I'm going to be stuck like this forever, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't coddle him anymore and be like, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. It was, well, if you think that and you don't take this seriously, then more than likely, yeah, you're going to be stuck this way.
Yeah.
That wasn't the response that he was looking for at all.
Because we want reassurance, because reassurance is our drug.
So, I had to change how I was responding to those moments and, start pushing him to realize that this is within his hands.
Yeah.
So that was another.
And that's how I reacted in the beginning. And obviously I react a lot better now.
Okay, next question. How did it help or benefit you long term?
Probably the most important thing in the beginning. It's not as much important now because my perspectives have changed, but it was the driving factor to get me to where I am today. And it still is. You know, like, not like this morning was weird because I couldn't hear my alarm, but, you know, she comes in and, you know, it's not that I sleep in late, but I'll sleep till 7, right? And I like getting up at 6, you know, with the business and our other jobs, we're pretty busy. So, you know, Erica comes in sometimes, she's like, hey, like it's 6:05, and today my alarm.
So I was just kind of checking. I had to leave, so I had to check in on him, being like, are you getting up?
My alarm was going off. It was underneath my pillow.
Yeah, so he couldn't hear it. So there was an actual reason for
and
him
I'm
not
deaf.
getting up this
and
morning.
I'm literally deaf. That's why I have
But, you know, again, it falls back on accountability. It falls back on tough love. I didn't really have to demonstrate tough love today because it wasn't like he was bargaining with me of, you know, being tired and
those days
tiring.
are far and in between now.
Yeah.
You know?
But sometimes I do have to do that. Not as much anymore, but in the beginning, a lot.
But even still, almost 7 months into recovery, like it still happens sometimes.
Yeah.
So this is why it's very important. I do want to touch on this. Tough love in the reality of OCD recovery is very important. And telling people stuff like everyone recovers in 6 months. Remember how much I was like, oh, I'm going to be fully recovered in 6 months. Then you start realizing just how many little hidden compulsions you have. It's not so much maybe the outward compulsions, and everyone's fears are different, but for me having somatic, it's more internal compulsions and mental. So that was a huge thing. We got the dogs real quick. Milo, boop, boop. What are you doing? He's looking at the couch. He's being a little weirdo.
Get down.
You're going to get yelled at in the camera. Look at him.
Get down.
Look at him.
Get down.
Come here.
Anyways. Tough love. You're probably going to have to use it at some point as the supporter, particularly if you are their primary support system through all of this. So for me, it was really uncomfortable to exercise tough love. I'm not good at it. I've gotten better at it, obviously, because I've had to practice it. But there's a good chance that it is something that they're going to need with regards to their recovery. So don't be afraid to exercise tough love. It's frustrating, especially when they're in the beginning stages and they're not responding well to tough love because their OCD doesn't want them to do what you're telling them.
And not to cut you off, it is important to mention, no matter what, you have to make the decision to change.
Right.
The tough love is an important aspect, and it can help push you, but ultimately you're gonna have 1,000 Marines screaming at you, get up, do it. If you don't want to do it, you're just not gonna do it.
And so to add to that, if you're demonstrating tough love and they're still not responding, don't drive yourself crazy trying to get them to do what you're saying.
It's important.
You're going to ram your head into a wall. That's what I felt like I was doing. I felt like I was talking to a wall a lot of the time, until he actually decided to start listening.
A cute wall.
Started listening to the things that he needed to be doing. So again, it comes back. It's still on them. Tough love helps to keep them accountable, but it's still on them to actually put in the work.
You got it. The tough love is part of it. You got to do your exposures. You got to work with uncertainty, reading the Ellis stuff, you know, moving towards uncertainty, going through uncomfortable situations. Like it's going to feel uncomfortable for a very long time in the majority of your day. If not all of your day in the beginning, like all of your day is going to feel uncomfortable, but you could still push. So I like to talk about this because like that tough love got me to the point where when we were hiking, remember sometimes I'd be like, remember the one time I freaked out at Red Rock Open Space? Do you remember that? When we first got there and I said, oh, I got to go right now.
Oh, yeah.
I got to go home. And she said, well, no, you're not. So
I said, we just got here and we need to.
I was in meltdown mode.
No, we need to. Yeah. So anyways, tough love, Daisy. Tough love is going to be really important from the supporter's perspective, but again, realize that it's still on them to go through all of it, and it's not the easiest thing to exercise. So good luck with the tough love stuff. It was helpful for him, but again, the most helpful thing is going to be for them to actually go through it.
Actually, there is one more thing I think you should cover. talk about the importance of taking a little bit of time for yourself.
Oh yeah, I think I touched on that in my first video that I did by myself.
Touch on it again though with the tough love, because like
Tough love is going to be exhausting, more than likely. So make sure that you're taking the time to go and do things that you enjoy. Um, take care of yourself, number one. There were times where I wanted to go for a hike and he wouldn't get out of bed. So I went for the hike by myself, or I brought the dog with me, because I needed that for myself. I know that he needed it, but if he was absolutely adamant about not doing it, I can't force him. I can't pull him out of bed, put clothes on his body, put his shoes on. Like, I can't do that. That, again, external solution to internal problem. I will keep saying that. It is an external solution, and I can't be the one to do that for him. Some days, yes, pulling on his arm, being like, get out of bed, helpful. But long term, he's got to do it on his own.
thank you. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we hope this video helps, and have a good day.